Dazzler is the new card in Marvel Snap going into Series 5 and costing 6,000 collector tokens. I've built a couple of the best decks you will find with this card. One in particular I'm really excited to try out in about 3 months when I finally get this card, because I'm not going to be spending my tokens on her, but I do think she looks like a pretty solid card overall. 4 energy, 4 stats. She has an ongoing ability where if you have 4 cards at each location, you get 6 power on her. So 10 stats for 4 if you're able to meet this condition. Of course, Strong Guy also playing 10 stats for 4. Rescue, 9 stats for 4 with a much, much easier condition to meet. You've got Jessica Jones at 8 stats, so you definitely get a big benefit if you can meet this condition, particularly when you consider if you do have 12 cards on the board, you've probably got a lot of points, especially with Blue Marvel and Kazar. Zabu going to synergize nicely with her. Shanna the She-Devil, potentially. Thanos. Also, M'Baku gets a huge mention for me because if there's room for M'Baku, one slot, he can fly out, and then your Dazzler's going to get that +6 as well. So that seems like a really nice bit of synergy. I thought we'd have a little look at some of the variants, but also a bit of lore behind the card. I knew nothing about her. Dazzler, or Alison Blair, is a fictional superheroine usually associated with the X-Men. She's a mutant with the ability to convert sound vibrations into light and energy beams. She was commissioned as a disco singer. The character has shifted to other musical genres, including rock and adult contemporary. She's been described as one of Marvel's most notable and powerful female heroes, being labelled as an LGBTQ icon. Alright, lovely. Couple variants. One with a microphone. We've got one with bubblegum. I really love this one. And we've also got a Dan Hip variant. And now we can take a look at the 2 decks that I've built. The first one is a Shanna the She-Devil deck. This card came out last week. Lots of people have been very unimpressed with her. Unfortunately, she is a bit dodgy. You have to play Shanna as a finisher. But Dazzler is going to give you that little bit of extra power, of course, potentially. Basically, the premise of this one is we're going to be not playing a lot of cards. So we're going to play Sunspot. We're going to play Storm on turn number 3. We're going to slam Zabu at some point because then Shanna can get cards into the Storm lane. Later on, we've got Wong, we've got Shanna, so we can reuse Shanna's ability a couple of times. Of course, Kazar's going to be really cheap. Dazzler's going to be very cheap as well. She-Hulk should be able to come down at some point because we'll be skipping a lot of turns. Winning one lane with Storm is going to be crucial because otherwise you're going to struggle, which I think is where then Spider-Man and Absorbing Man is going to turn this into a serious deck. You win one lane with Storm, and they might not think that you're winning that because you're going to be Shannering 1-cost cards into that location, and you just lock down the 2 other locations with Spider-Man, Absorbing Man, and you have your big finishing play on the final turn where you might go Wong, Shanna, Dazzler, something like that, right? So definitely seems a bit clunky. I can't lie, I don't have massive expectations for this one. I have seen a few other people struggle with Shanna, but this definitely looks like the way to play it. Shang-Chi certainly gets an honourable mention in this deck as well, because you'll be able to play Shang-Chi on turn number 6 for some surprise value, and you're almost certainly not going to have initiative. Your opponent should be going first because you're just not playing a lot of cards until the final turn. However, the deck that I'm particularly excited for Dazzler is this Thanos deck that I've been playing a lot. I posted a video on this deck already. The current version I'm playing of the deck looks exactly like this, except I'm playing Spider-Man instead of Dazzler. And M'Baku is amazing in this deck. We have a Blue Marvel and a Kazar. I couldn't really justify playing Blue Marvel in a Zabu deck because on turn 5, I'd rather play things like Spider-Man, Absorbing Man. But in this deck, you can cheat out Blue Marvel with Lockjaw. All sorts of really nice things you can do here. The board does fill up pretty commonly because of your 1-cost stones. Also, your M'Baku on turn 5 can go into your Lockjaw lane, and you can play Aero, which is just an amazing finisher. Often your stones cost nothing because of your Quinjet as well. It's a really great deck, and Dazzler is going to make it better, I think. What's really nice about Dazzler is that she's a cheap card. A lot of the time what happens with this deck is you have your Lockjaw down, and you want to play a stone because it's going to draw you more stones. It's going to maybe give you more energy or something good the next turn. But you end up, like, let's say on turn 5, only being able to play Leech or only being able to play Aero. Whereas what you can do is on turn number 5, you can play Dazzler and a stone if you don't have Quinjet. Of course, if you have Quinjet on the board, you can just play the 5-drop anyway. But you often want to be cycling the stones, like, for example, the green stone, which gives you more energy. A lot of the time with this deck, I've found is I go Lockjaw, and then I really want to play the green stone, but I don't have a cheap card to play over it. And Dazzler, Kazar kind of fit that mold as well as Okoye. So this looks really very solid to me. I'm pretty convinced this is going to be the best way to play Thanos. Whether Dazzler is actually that good in this deck remains to be seen, because it is going to be really sad playing her if she's only coming out at 4 stats and not 10. And while you do fairly frequently fill the board, it's certainly not every single game. So while she looks great in this deck, and Spider-Man is not always the best, I'm not that impressed with her. Really, I mean, in theory, she can be great, but she's also going to be pretty bad some of the time, especially against things like Killmonger. But the thing is, you're already losing to Killmonger, so that's not really a problem. I just think that her floor is very, very low, and her ceiling is not that high, right? Her ceiling's decent, but her condition's much more difficult to meet than, for example, Strongo. So this is the best deck I think you're going to find for Dazzler. I do think this Shanna the She-Devil, for the one person in the world that's going to have Shanna and also have Dazzler, then this looks like a pretty fun one to test out as well. But unfortunately, with the current progression system in Marvel Snap, I know a lot of you are not going to be able to have this card, but I still wanted to make this video explaining how the card works and showing you the best decks with it. If you watched this far, give the video a like. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video.